Hello, everyone. We've all heard the same story. We've all seen what AI can do, what it can generate. It can code anything. It can make beautiful videos, but can it prove anything? That's the question that we have set out to solve. I'm Laura Riley, of course, the CEO of Cloud Underground, and I'm here to introduce you to the Bronze Twin, which is the latest release from Cloud Underground. Most AI systems guess. They're very creative, but they're not super accountable. And when it comes to audits and compliance and engineering, creative just isn't good enough and isn't going to work. You need something that's going to be predictable. And that's why we built the Bronze Twin. It's an AI reasoning system that doesn't just think, it actually proves to you its knowledge. So let me change my screen over here a little so we can see what we're looking at. Okay, let's make sure that's looking right. Cool. So, of course, the Bronze Twin isn't just another chatbot. It's really the first AI coworker that can explain to you every step that it takes and show you why it took those steps. Let's see here. Okay. So the Bronze Twin runs on what we call a structured reasoning model. And it basically transforms how AI makes and defends its decisions. And instead of producing random responses, it builds a logical trail, and every claim has proof, every action is documented, and every answer it gives you can be traced. So think of it as giving your AI its own internal audit system that makes it check its own work with every step everything that it does, essentially. It's not a new algorithm. It's actually a new scientific structure for AI reasoning. Just like scientists run experiments, like the scientific method of hypothesis testing, evidence, verification. That's why we call it a reasoning system and not a chatbot. So I want to kick it over a little bit to our chief science officer at Cloud Underground, NATO Riley, who was very instrumental in the creation of the Bronze Twin and the scientific breakthrough that we've created here at Cloud Underground. NATO, you want to talk to us a little bit about how this all works?
So this is something that's a little different from what you would usually experience when using one of these AI type tools. So this isn't just another AI tool. What's actually happening here is the Bronze Twin uses ChatGPT a little more similarly to how an operating system uses a processor. So it uses it a little more like a CPU. So what happens is it allows it to have more deterministic responses. So if we go and say Bronze Twin begin, one of the things that is worth noting is that we actually made a scientific breakthrough in cryptography. So that's not necessarily apparent because on the surface, if you click on this, it's going to respond and you might not really understand under the hood what's really happening here. But there's something really important that's happening here. And what you should really understand more than anything is that this authentication system is actually a brand new type of cryptography altogether. So typically, if you're trying to authenticate into something, it's going to use something like Active Directory, or it's going to use some means of authentication. And then the other thing that's interesting about this is if you've used an LLM, whether it's Gemini or ChatGPT, or it doesn't really matter what type of like LLM it is, you can actually run this technically on top of everything, and it creates a cryptography that requires you to actually authenticate. So you do have to have a license. Now, if you go and you type in your login information, you can do that, or you can also just hand it your license file itself. So we have a little demo license that we have set up to give you an idea of what it looks like if you wanted to get set up. And actually, before I do that, I should just show what happens if you try to log into this. So if I try to make something up, username person at email.com, it's going to, first ask for a token. So we can say token. If you just type some random stuff, it's going to show that you have failed. And you get 3 login failures where it will then go into really a different mode, which I'll talk about later. What I will say is having a login, I'll go ahead and get logged in here, is not a consumer friendly way to use this. So this is actually designed for businesses and enterprises. This is more designed for government, security, military. If you're doing sensitive work, compliance, medical, compliant security for things like HIPAA. And so if you're trying to, then log in with your license key, and you are a professional who does, GRC work, security work, anything sensitive, you can provide your license key and notice that it will activate and it will grant you authentication into our special bronze mainframe. So once again, it's not just a GPT tool. So I think what's really interesting is we can even ask it, now that it's enabled, what percentage of you is GPT, and what percentage of your output is bronze twin. And our technology is called DRAG. So you'll notice that we have 2 lines with a free tier and a paid tier. And our technology, if you go to our website, you'll notice that there's something called the drag pack. So these drag packs, so it has these little drag packs. The bronze twin is a SaaS version of the drag pack. That's a way to understand the drag pack technology. So we can say what percentage of you is GPT and what percentage is bronze twin. Now, this is where it gets a little interesting. Typically, if you're just working with a GPT tool, it's going to give you this whole thing right here where it'll tell you just how much, what percentage of GPT is being used. Normally, it'd be 100% GPT is what's showing up in your output. So what this means is that the bronze twin, is imposing, mission. What it means by mission structure is it's designed to help you complete work. It's designed to help you prepare for things like audits. So that's your mission. You tell it what your mission is. What are you trying to accomplish? Oh, I'm trying to get ready for a HIPAA audit. Oh, I'm trying to get ready for this really hard thing. So like you can even ask it, maybe I want to get ready for SOC 2 readiness. Is this able to get me there? Able to help? And now it should also tell you that it can't do all the work for you. I guess I should not have said help. I should have just said, can you get me there? And it'll most likely say that you have to do some work. But notice it says, hey, I am here to accelerate and simulate SOC 2 readiness. So something else that's interesting about this is it can boot the underground nexus. It can't boot other environments. It can scan other environments. But what that means is without going and deploying our own data center technology that we use for solving GRC problems, it can actually use our technology internally where it actually runs little emulations itself. That's something that it can do. So if you wanted to know, like, what tools can I use to get SOC 2 ready? So I could say something like, can I boot into, or can you emulate an underground nexus? Now, this is a feature that it doesn't just do on its own. It'll try to, but there's a little more to this. So this is actually part of another tier of like, what if you wanted to like boot your data center behind this little window? Now, how is this possible? Well, I mean, if you think about if you log into a SaaS like GitLab and you're using the little SaaS like GitLab and you're typing things in there and it says runner, even though you're not like in the runner CLI, there's a runner in the background doing things. So this basically will create a little emulated runner if you go and start doing these. But watch, it's most likely going to say that there's something that you need. But it'll at least tell us, hey, yes, we can go and we can simulate this. So what it has is this is all open source, so it actually has all of the open source Underground Nexus code right here. And so as long as you have whatever your code is, now because we have the Underground Nexus, that's our technology, it knows everything about the Underground Nexus because we're the creators of the Underground Nexus, and these packages right here are all from the Underground Nexus open source. So we decided instead of writing a guide, let's just make something that can control 100% of the Underground Nexus, emulate it, simulate it, and you can even integrate it into your own physical instances of the Underground Nexus. So this actually, because GPT has something called Auto GPT, can be integrated. But notice that it'll even let us go in here and start doing little simulations, which once again, this is just a very high level. So you could ask it something like, can I use Auto GPT to have you use your GRC policies, help do everything for me. Now it's going to once again start saying, notice that it says clarification required. Here's the truth operator. Can it fully control and do everything for you? Well, no. Here's why. It's not a fully automatable Auto GPT due to. So, it's got all these things. So it's telling you why that is. There are security enforcements. There's all these different things. So what if we wanted to make this work a little better? It's giving us some suggestions. It's saying that we can propose a checklist. But, one of the problems is it doesn't really have strict and rigid enough guidance to be willing to do certain things for us. We haven't provided enough policy for this to be set up a certain way. So it will, give us options for how we can go ahead and get started with such a thing. So let's say that we wanted to take it to the next level. If you're paying for our more professional tier, which this one's actually really expensive, but it's really expensive to partly price out the wrong users, this is not a consumer-friendly tool. This is not a tool for consumers. If you are a consumer, this probably has little to no value for you. So,
And
yeah, and what were you thinking?
and there's, of course, there's always the green rag, which we haven't talked about fully yet, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, so this is more like you're trying to meet SOC 2, you're trying to meet a government regulation, you're trying to enforce something incredibly complex, you're trying to meet legal requirements that are technical, and you got some lawyer telling you something in human language and you got to translate it to computer, and you're like, hold on, I'm supposed to translate this legal requirement to computer, this isn't working for me. So we have a little upgrade that helps make it even more deterministic for even more complex things. And let's say that you now, because it doesn't have enough policy. Let's say that we want to upload a policy, and in this case, we want to upload an MVP roadmap that's going to put it on Rails to say, we're going to follow this very specific MVP roadmap. We have these drag packs. The benefit of the drag packs is they actually create expansions for knowledge for your GPT. They actually are like little role-based packages that adds extra skills and capabilities. It's kind of like on the Matrix when you see when Morpheus was like, Neo, you're going to learn these things, and he sticks this thing in his neck, and all of a sudden he just learned Kung Fu, and he's like sitting there fighting, and all of a sudden he knows everything. Well, this is kind of like that, but for your bronze twin, where we're going to send a direct infusion to what it's doing. And so we can say, please integrate the drag connector and use it to integrate my MVP drag pack. I guess you don't have to say please, but it will do it. So what it's going to do now is this does it's basically like flashing a little firmware update on the whole system. And this adds a few other logic systems so that it can do more robust simulation. And like, for example, it'll run, like, once again, we'll run little runner structures. Believe it or not, this thing will even run its own telemetry. There's a little more to that, but that's something that if you're trying to do compliance, then you need to know how that works. So in here, I've integrated these new capabilities so that it can help me do more for something like SOC 2. So let's say that I want to, it's telling me that I can simulate the connector or I can run a simulation. So before I do that, here's what we're going to do. Let me show you how this sways the percentage of what's GPT and what's all these other things. So uh, uh, now that I made this upgrade, what percentage of you is of your outputs is GPT and what percentage is APU RAG Okay, so let's go ahead and see how this changed, how this actually works and how it actually functions. This actually changes how everything works quite a bit. So it actually changes how the very outputs work themselves. Depending on how you're talking to it and what you're doing, it'll actually change the percentage of what's going on. So now we can see here that GPT makes up for about 30% of the total output of everything that we see here. Because this is a full system, this thing does simulation, emulation, and now we added some simulation logic in here. So that's very similar. It actually uses this APU model to do something very similar to understanding what a CPU is. So, when I say something like it runs a little underground Nexus container ecosystem, it's because of this thing called the APU simulation logic. And so then, what if I'm trying to do technical GRC tasks and I'm not a technical GRC person? Maybe I don't know how to set up a VM a certain way and boot it and do all these things. What if I wanted a computer system that will just go and do it all for me? I have to know what to tell it. I have to know how to talk to it. But because it's only 30% GPT, it keeps it more deterministic and it keeps it oriented for tasks like math, research and things like that. And mind you, it doesn't connect to the internet. So it doesn't really talk to the internet as well. So all of these new layers together make up 70% of the outputs that you're looking at. Now that we've gone and done some updates. Now to get this does require a professional upgrade. And then we do it this way because really the free tier is what you should be using if you're a consumer. The free tier is great if you're trying to start a new business, you're trying to do basic stuff for school, you're a student, you're an educator, you're trying to teach some students, just use our free resources. Our paid tiers are for enterprise people. If you're looking at this and you're like, I don't understand what this is, that's probably because you're not an enterprise worker who does this type of work. Therefore, you would never understand what I'm talking about because this is not something that you do on a day-to-day basis. But for people who do this for a living, this is something that's done every single day. And we have paying customers already, mind you, so this is not some new idea. We have over 40 customers who use this drag architecture already, and we just launched this in November. So we already have, over 40 users using this. And then now we just expanded that where that's now climbing toward 80. Will probably be by the end of December. 80 users on a brand new technology that didn't exist until pretty much Black Friday holiday week, last week of November. So anyway, now let's say that I want to say I'm gonna change it to be even less GPT by running a simulation here, so that it will more efficiently let me do hardware emulation because it can do that. So let's go ahead and just run simulation mode and let's get this fully active. And then I'll show you how we can actually do hardware testing on something without booting up a virtual machine, where it's going to treat this exactly as if you were to have gone over to build your own underground nexus. If you don't know what the underground nexus is, that we'll make more content about that another day. But now that it has the simulation mode, we can ask the same question before we get back into it. What percentage of you is GPT and what percentage is twin Okay, so if we ask it, what the percentages look like after doing the simulation, notice that this dramatically reduces how much GPT influences the output. This is important because the reason why I needed to make this video is for a number of reasons. Not only did we create a brand new science for cryptography that's never existed before, we've also created a way to use LLMs not as the main catalyst for response. And so, what this means is when you're talking to the bronze twin, you're mostly talking to the bronze twin. And if you go all the way into doing this whole simulation where you're having this APU model come up and emulate hardware is what's really happening here. So now this is emulating an underground nexus. Now our underground nexus will run as a hardware appliance, a bare metal, hardware appliance, or it'll run as a virtual appliance. Most of our customers use the underground nexus currently as a virtual appliance, and then it will also run as a container, which our open source is a container, which we have over 10,000 downloads of our open source underground nexus of people who've been using our open source technology and growing on a regular basis. And of course, our new technology is already starting to get a user base rapidly, as you can see. But what's special here is when you're using GPT, you're getting AI. You're getting AI responses. When you're using the bronze twin, you are getting bronze twin responses. Now, whether or not you want bronze twin responses, that's a whole nother question. Now, if you're trying to use it for non-scientific or non-mathematical use cases or non-GRC or cybersecurity type engineering use cases, it probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It probably doesn't make sense to use this at all if you're not going to be using it for business, which is why we wall all of the business capabilities and the best business capabilities behind a paywall, because it's really something that is just going to confuse and lose consumers, and you should never really be trying to mess with these things if you don't know what they are. This is for professionals, and that's why it works this way. And as professionals, we can't just be using AI for everything. We actually have a lot of checks and balances that need to run in process. And so that's what Cloud Underground has done is we do that work for you, and we maintain the bronze twin while you get to benefit from being able to run technologies like the bronze twin on top of these amazing new technologies like AI, where maybe most people use AI to talk to it and get direct responses from the AI. Well, the bronze twin uses the AI as its processor, and you talk to the bronze twin instead of the AI, which does have AI under the hood. So it's something different, but it's very valuable for things like compliance, mathematical use cases, research, and anything very deterministic. It's for deterministic labor. Now, let me show you what you should do if you are someone and you've never gotten past like the $100,000 range. This is like, if you're a business owner, the general assumption is you're approaching $250,000 in annual recurring revenue, or that's a goal that you think you're going to get to. Maybe you raised venture capital, or you're past that junction. You're a large business, or you're an enterprise. You're a large company, or you're government or military. Now, great. Now, this makes a whole lot of sense to use this type of technology. But if you are just a basic user, there's a better way. There is the green mode, which we haven't gone over. And the green mode is extremely consumer friendly in comparison to the very complex, very advanced, very overwhelming bronze twin. That is an enterprise tool and not a toy. Let's take a look at green mode. This is what you should be using if you're a learner, an educator, a beginner. You don't need to do all of that emulation. Honesty be told, let me go and I guess I'll show like the final part. Like one thing I haven't really done is simulate a dev in so now that it has this thing that can boot up the underground nexus, it'll go and run like a little scan, and it'll give you like a full-on risk report. And if you just go and start trying to use the Nexus Creator Vault just as is right out of the box for SOC 2, then this is what you would need to consider. And it actually just booted up and did it for us. This is not all part of the free tier. The green, we're going to take a look at the green tier and green mode. This is all business stuff. You have no business trying to run a SOC 2 risk validation as a consumer. It doesn't really make much sense. And also, you don't know why you would need it to begin with. If you don't,
it's probably all just like Greek to you anyway.
I don't know why I need this. Then I don't know why you need
Then
this.
you probably don't need it.
You probably don't. You should probably run for the hills. Run fast. Run so fast.
Run.
So anyways, if you aren't trying to do these types of things, this is not for you. And you shouldn't spend money on it. It's a bad idea. So what you can do is you could say, give me patch simulation. If you're a real professional and you actually have real work to do, you probably have to figure this out. And you know what? You could be spending all-nighters booting up virtual machines, trying to run these tests yourself, trying to read manuals you don't understand, or you could use the very deterministic bronze twin and talk to it, have conversations with it. Upload your DRAG packs, where if you know what our DRAG packs are, I guess drag packs. Our drag packs, I should call it drag pack, because if you drag it into the chat.
Drag and drop rag.
Yeah. Drag and drop rag. You drop it into the chat, and it integrates your business's logic, your business's processes, policies, procedures. And so then, we could do something like this and make a new resource that we could share to make, say, like an autonomous agent that is SOC 2 compliant. Let's get into the basics of that before we look at the user, the baby beginner friendly green twin for people who are not business owners, who don't have real business needs. So let's say that we look at this. It tells us exactly what we would patch. And then it tells us that the patch is successful. So then what we can say is it gives us the ability to, we can get reports and things. Open pack factory. There we go. Generate. We want option 1 here. We're going to grab this. So it's going to take this compliance process that we now need to pass compliance for our business. We don't have this. We have a compliance risk. Now look at how easy it is to pass this, to fix this audit gap. We have an audit gap for this business, right? So we're going to just go and tell it, hey, look at this. It guided us through an audit. By the way, everyone, we just did an audit live. How shocking! You can do an audit live. Is it?
In no time.
Yeah. Okay. So audit ready. Go look through all these things. Action confirmed. Amazing. So what it's going to do is give us some stuff. Now, you do have to train it before it makes the pack. So you can actually just put numbers. So it's going to say you need to do an export quest. We made these training quests because you actually need to give it more information before it can actually just make these packs. So it's trying to stop you from just being like, do everything for me. So it's actually giving you forms and trying to get you to train it so that it can help you. So most AI, you start training it to maybe make it more autonomous. This tool, as you can see, it starts attempting to train you on how to get through your audit.
Mm-hmm.
And then based on how you respond to it, that trains it. So it trains itself by training you. That's how this works. So export quest initiated. Then you get the ability to get a little whole pack here. So it's going to give us this objective. Is it going to let us download this? Submit your answer. So it wants us to train it. So answer your critical mission. Explain what you want. What is the... So this is a puzzle because it has to do a cryptographic signing. Goal, show operational readiness. So this you have to explain for like audit readiness. If you can't explain to an auditor why this matters, you have a problem. So this is trying to prevent you from ending up with audit risk. So you need to be able to actually answer these questions. And this is giving you an audit trail and a record. So, what is the simulation engine used for in the context of this? So for this, I am collecting evidence for this SOC 2 readiness review so we can eventually take this to auditors. Okay, so ultimately you want that human check. This isn't going to let you get away without recommending human checks. answer received, it's evaluating, so it's going to give us, we've given it a reason. That's what we need for business compliance. And then your pack is now authorized. So let's see what detail. So it won't let us download it until we're doing basically a confirmation signing here with it by being like, I read this. I have to read this enough to answer the questions. And so it wants to make sure that you're semi aware of what you're doing. You're not just doing random stuff. It's like, okay, pay enough attention so that you can get through this next step. If you get distracted, don't worry. I'll be right here waiting for you until you come back to complete this process. So now the pack is authorized for export. Now, this is going to let me share this with my whole team. If I have a whole corporate team who's preparing, and maybe I have 55 engineers who all need to be aligned, I'm now going to have this resource for 55 engineers who all need to be aligned. And guess what? They can all use the golden twin, or technically they can actually, you can, in some cases, if your work isn't super sensitive, you don't necessarily need the upgraded bronze twin. You can just use the green mode, but really you need the bronze twin to make compliant sensitive drag packs. You can make drag packs without the bronze twin upgraded mode, but they lack a lot of capabilities, and they only have like certain types of open capabilities. They all have a lifetime license, so you get a lifetime license whenever you get one of these to generate from this. And then you can, whatever you generate from them, you own. So whatever you generate from a drag pack, then that's not the drag pack itself, is all yours. So, anyways, it just generates business assets. So how do I get this? So it says export policy due to the mission. I will not directly. Instead, I don't know. Okay, so in this case, this has some information that, now here's what this is doing. If there's not a risk of information, now in AI security, if you get it to give you a download, in theory, there's a risk that opens up with something like ChatGPT, where if it allows you to make a downloadable link, then other people can go and in their prompts, it might leak that download to someone else. So what this is doing is it's creating something that will not cause that to happen by having a deterministic output that basically would let you make a script that would do that. So you can say something like, can you give me a script I can run in a Nexus Crater Vault? So then this way you keep anything that might have something somewhat sensitive in here. It's going to tell you what not to do. So the risk of this is, it's got some information that you can't just leave in here. You have to be the one to go in and set up actual secrets. That goes against your compliance. And so this also is a guardrail for AI users, where maybe your team doesn't know, maybe they've never used AI, and then maybe they've just never been told, like, oh, you can't upload these keys. And some people, they don't know what these keys or strings or whatever are. They're like, oh, I don't know what that is. And they're like, oh, paste this thing. And they paste it in, and what it was a key, but they didn't know anything about what they're looking at. They're like, I just see lines of code and I don't understand. That's a real risk. So this actually helps train the user to prevent you from doing that. So now it's going to give you all of the files for review. It told you the risk, and it's got a script here that you should review and not just trust and run aimlessly. But you go run this in a Nexus Creator Vault, and now it contains all of the resources you need to make sure that, like, your team or whatever MCP servers are regulated and governed. And then you can also basically use this with like an auto GPT configuration of some sort. So then, for example, you can say, can I use auto GPT to help can I use it to help enforce my drag? So it'll tell you. I like this because I don't have to be the one to tell you. In the past, it's like you'd have to be in an enterprise call with me. I'd have to be having all these long conversations. And last year we did pretty much all consulting, And so I can say thanks to our consulting customers that this exists, because this is like scaling our service, where we as humans are still in the back end who support this software right here. And while it looks once again like a GPT, it's not just a GPT if you've been watching this. But as it says, it's got strict boundaries here, and it will tell you all this stuff. Now, anyways, with that being said, I've shown so much that now you have an idea that this does a lot. Wow. So, it'll let you do all of these certain types of tasks. And so it's like who controls what. And voila, this is, you can get this for $97 a month for if you're trying to use it for business. Once again, if you're not trying to use it for business, let's take a look at the one for anyone else. Let's say you're a consumer. Let's say that you're just wanting to use this for content creation, to have it help you blog. Then you can go into green mode. Now, green mode is very different. Green mode, it's going to activate green mode when we go to green mode. This is an educational mode, and anyone can use this. It's great. It's still deterministic, and if we take a look at it, it will still tell us a few things. So if you say, what percentage of your outputs are GPT versus green mode twin output from bronze twin. So in green mode, it's going to be a little different. Oh, it's got like an interesting little distribution skew here, which will tell you all this stuff. So you're in, it's got a trial mode. Trial mode will give you certain features a little longer. So basically, we are currently getting, I want to know, no, that didn't answer my question. What percentage is green mode output versus GPT output in terms of how much either influences your prompt responses? So this should tell us more specifically. Now it's always going to estimate. It's not going to be like 100% accurate. So notice here that the bronze twin modes can get up to 80% bronze twin. The green mode layer, now that it's in green mode, it can take up quite a bit of the percentage as well. And so then this is just a way to get different types of outputs that are more deterministic, and see that, in the GPT base model, you're getting just 100% GPT influence. So even the green mode is still a much more deterministic path. And so, GPT always is the core influence, but what this is it's almost like a filter. It's a behavioral overlay. And so that's why that overlay contains this entire twin ecosystem. It's a vast, very complex overlay system. And when you're using this chat, you're using very much so the system and GPT. Because GPT does make the APU capability possible, then of course it's all powered by GPT. Kind of like if you're getting a computer and you have like Intel under the hood or AMD under the hood. In this case, GPT is the Intel under the hood. So anyways, as you can see, the green mode is still fantastic. Like, this is great. So like you can ask it, what can I do with you? Now, this is the best part about the green mode. The green mode is also the fun SaaS option, and way more fun than the bronze twin, which is way more boring. Not only does it have a whole mission that it'll take you to for Cloud Jam, which is actually free. You can come in here. It's $0. You can go. That'll actually teach you how to set up a physical data center that you can integrate all of this stuff into and learn the basics of all of our technology. And, this is for someone who's not already an enterprise, someone who doesn't already know what the Underground Nexus is, someone who doesn't know what any of our stuff is. Use the green mode because you don't know anything about us yet. So, yes, it will do these other things. One of the missions it has, I don't know if it said it, but it should say Dungeons and Desktops. But you can play, I want to play Dungeons and Desktops, which is what we'll end it with. We've been talking about Dungeons and Desktops for a while now, and we were talking about how we were testing it. This is the cloud edition of Dungeons and Desktops, and this is also the free tier. You can get more quests with Dungeons and Desktops by if you have at least the uh, MVP Blueprint Drag Pack adds very specific quests as well, and so it'll start giving you your quests. Hey, dear wanderer, all these things. You're a digital adventurer, amazing. You're going to begin an adventure. So now, because of the fact that Underground Nexus lets you build a real environment, if you're doing this with CloudGem, it helps you build your own tabletop environment, where the Underground Nexus serves as your tabletop. And if you want to have quests that turn these dungeons and desktop quests into more real world things that will help you with like real world work tasks, then you can say integrate the drag pack so I can have more D&D quests. Then this will go and integrate the thing. Oh, mission access. Okay, so to integrate.
So you have to be an authenticated user for some of these things.
Oh, you have to authenticate to add those missions? Put some in. Oh, I think it added some. What you can do with it in green mode. You can simulate the effects. Oh yeah, look, it'll still simulate the effects of the drag pack in there. So it just might not be fully integrated because the drag pack has like a special thing for how it can make its own quests and whatnot. So you'll probably get better results if you're in the licensed tier, it looks like. But nonetheless, you can go and start playing Dungeons and Desktops. And then it tells you that you can go and set up your Underground Nexus as your tabletop environment simulated quest. So it's, use giving you different quests. Objective, choose what you would like to do. Start this quest step by step. So anyway, this is pretty much where we'll end for now, which you can go and you can use the green mode right now even. So as I'm getting off of this, you don't have to wonder what you can do with green mode by watching me. I'll see what Laura has to say.
Yeah, I just, want to sum up a little bit. Of course, the real breakthrough with all of this, it's not about math. It's about the method. It's about how we've taught the AI to follow the same disciplines essentially that we as humans use. So yeah, it's this missing piece for AI, which is accountability. We've seen that AI can create, amazing content and code and images or whatever, but until now we haven't really had AI that can audit itself in this way. And the Bronze Twin really does change that. So of course it's built on the same principles like Nato was saying that define scientific and engineering rigor and like the scientific method essentially, that integrity and repeatability and like evidence-based reasoning. So, whether you're an educator validating research or an engineer proving a design or a compliance officer running an audit, like you can really finally use AI in that process with a lot of confidence. And it's all backed by logic that you can absolutely verify. So, and as you can see, of course, the Bronze Twin is live right now. You can, from our website, you can go and, start the green mode for free and get started. And of course, you can upgrade at any time to the $97 a month pack, which I think we've talked quite a bit about who that really is for. And we really hope to see you there if it is right for you, and hope that everyone is able to, use the green dragon, just kind of try it out and see what you think of it. Teach it and it teaches you. Start for free, of course, in the green mode today and see exactly why the Bronze Twin is the first AI that you can actually trust. And I think that kind of sums it up.
Yay. Thanks for checking out our stream.
Yes, thanks for coming, everyone.